Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And today we're going to have so much fun because we're going kind of back to my roots, and talking about public speaking, how to be on camera, how to be on stage, and why that is so important for most professionals. Let me say that again, most professionals, not just the CEOs, not just the people who want to be public speakers. I think that knowing these skills is something that is very critical for virtually every business professional. So please join me in welcoming Amanda Meyer to our program today. Welcome, Amanda.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, as you can tell, we have another guest from down under. I love it. It's so much fun. I'm going to have to go do a remote down there and, just bring in everybody that I've had as guests. But let me tell people a little bit about you, Amanda, and then we'll jump into this. So Amanda Meyer is a professional public speaking and on-camera training expert. During her 20 years in the acting and directing world, Amanda saw how life-changing the skills taught can be. So she created Rewards Drama to translate those skills to the business world. Now she works with speakers, business owners, and corporate leaders to master their platform and confidently establish their authority as a powerful communicator and leader on stage and on camera. Amanda is an authority in the field, and Rewards Drama is well-renowned. So again, Amanda, welcome.
Thank you.
Well, I always like to have people go back and tell us how they got to where they are today and how you decided that this was your passion in life.
Yeah, well, for me, obviously, it started in the acting and directing world.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, that it has been my background. So basically from a very young age, that's just kind of what I found myself loving and, annoying everybody with. And just over time, sort of, I suppose, just kind of fell into it naturally. Did a lot of mucking around with it and having fun. And then, of course, took it seriously and went and got some proper training and started looking at more of a professional kind of aspect and a professional way of doing things. But Rewards Drama is relatively new. It's only a few years old. And that's actually, obviously, it comes out of my background. But the reason that I finally decided to do that was over all of these years in acting and directing and teaching acting as well, I've sort of realized more and more how incredible the skill set is and how beneficial it is.
Right.
Not only for obviously people who are training to be actors, but just the general confidence and the general overall view and the way they approach everything just was such a big shift for them. And I've seen so many people change from shy and timid and unsure, not really knowing their own voice, to being powerful and effective on stage. And I also have a background in business and started to see more and more that the normal public speaking offerings, just the trainings, were just not really cutting it. There were a lot of, groups, things like Toastmasters and things like that, where people get to sort of practice their skills. But it was more sort of, help us get over the fears and get some practice doing it rather than actually training in the skill set itself. And even the skill set of public speaking, I've found, no offense to anybody, but quite lacking, just in terms of the actual skills that are taught. And there were just so many gaps. And I just honestly, at the end of the day, I just went, enough. I know how helpful these skills are. And I really have the answers here. So I'm going to write some training. I'm going to translate this skill set, not just the acting, but the directing, and take it to the business world and actually help people on stage and on camera, and to do it well.
Right. I love it. And what we're seeing more and more of, I think, are people having business meetings on camera. There's that little thing called coronavirus right now that's going around. And, so I think that's going to drive it. But I think what's going to happen is people will go, oh, wow, this really is better than either driving across town or flying to another city or even another country. We can have meetings like this, where it's you and I, but you can also do these things where you can have hundreds of people, and how you are doing it is so important. And that's why I think it's so important, as I said, that most business people learn this skill, because even if it's just a one-on-one meeting like you and I have, if you're not doing it properly, it actually becomes a problem, and whatever the heck you're really trying to talk about gets lost in the shuffle.
Absolutely. You are so right. And that is another problem with not learning the skill set. You can practice something over and over and over,
Right.
and you may get a little bit better. You may get less scared of it. But at the end of the day, it's not about you. It's about your audience.
Right.
And if they're not going to hear what you're saying and not actually getting the message that you were trying to get across, then the whole thing is pointless.
Right.
And you're actually even doing yourself a disservice, because maybe you're losing some credibility. Maybe you're losing some trust. Maybe they're looking at you thinking, well, if they're not confident in themselves, why should I be?
Right.
And it is a very, very real problem. And particularly in this digital age, as you said, going on camera, everybody is on camera now, and you need to be. It's just, it's part of the new world that we're living in. And there are so many benefits to being able to do things online as well. As you said, you cut out the traffic. It's
right. Oh, yeah.
yeah,
No more road rage.
That's right. And you can use that time so much more effectively doing other things. I do a lot of my training online. This is a very, very common thing, even for people in the same city as me. Just so we don't have to travel for however long.
Right.
Deal with parking, deal with getting in the building, dealing with all of that extra time. We can just get on camera, get it straight done.
Right. Well, and then of course, if you record it, that's an entirely other benefit, because other people can watch it. You can watch it again, all sorts of things.
Yeah, and repurposing content is another thing that's so important in the business world, particularly if you are, a solopreneur or a small business or something like that. You do not want to be spending all day, every day, putting out content. And if you've got something in like a big chunk of maybe a video or a training or whatever it is, and you can cut that up and you can use it again, you can put it into a blog post, you can send it out via email, you can put it all over social media, you can do so much with that original piece of content. You're absolutely right.
Right. Well, one of the things that you've got this as a resource on your website, but we really want to talk about this, is 5 mistakes to avoid on camera to make sure that you're being seen as a professional. So walk us through those 5.
Sure. Okay. Well, these are the 5 that I've put together that are the most common, that I see, all the time, every single day. And some of them are very frustrating to me because they are so simple to fix.
Right.
And people maybe don't understand quite the impact that it has to not get it right.
Sure. Start with number 1.
Okay. Well, number 1 is your lighting. Such a straightforward, simple thing to add. Now, what I have at the moment is 3-point lighting. It's a very basic setup. You can have 5 or, even more if you want to take it further. But 3-point lighting is basically what you need to cover all your bases. 3-point lighting consists of your fill, your key, and your backlight.
Okay.
Now, your fill light is, I'll start with key. Key is obviously like it sounds. It's your key light. It's the main one. You want it to be the biggest and the brightest, or the closest to you if all your lights are kind of the same wattage or whatever. And you want to make sure that it's not hitting you straight on your face. You don't want to be, getting that big glare or the reflections or anything else. You want to make sure that it's softly kind of enveloping and falling on a 45-degree angle is usually what we recommend.
Okay.
So my key is just there, and it's coming this way, and it's just softly I can't reach the switches, so I can't show you the differences turning them all off so you can only see one. But then on the other side, again on a 45-degree angle, on the opposite side, you then have your fill. And it is also, like it sounds, it is to fill the gaps or the shadows created by your key. And basically between the two of them, they are lighting your face and your upper body. Usually there's, you know, some part of that for a talking head. And it's just enveloping gently and softly all around and avoiding any harsh shadows or any shadowing, perhaps, you know, like I don't have shadowing around here because of the angle that they're falling on. You don't want them coming down, so you're creating your own shadow. But just
you'd have a double chin.
that, yeah, and you can end up with all sorts of, it's not a good look. And then the final one is your backlight, otherwise also called a hair light. And that's basically, it's just up above you. And it's supposed to fall just softly on the top of your head, maybe touching the top of your shoulders. And basically what it does is it just separates you from your background. So right now I have a very soft backlight, so you can't actually see much light on my head. But if I turned off my key and fill, you would see it. You would notice. It can actually give you almost like a little bit of a halo effect if you've got it up quite bright. But basically it just makes you stand out because cameras, particularly if you're using a phone camera, it just doesn't have the capacity for depth of field. And you want to be jumping out from your background. You want to be 3D, you want to be larger than life. You don't want to be blending into your background. You want to stand out and you want to give the camera some help in creating that three-dimensional image. And obviously, you know, that's going to help your audience because you are going to be jumping out from whatever your background is.
Well, lighting is clearly an issue for me. We're just going to put it out there. You know, and so I've got, I don't have a light up here. I've got 3 circle lights. And so clearly that's not quite right. But my big thing, I've got 2 big monitors. And so I've got way too much light. Now I have windows ahead of me and they are covered with blackout drapes. So I've got that part going for me. I got that right. But these right here, this right here, this is the worst because clearly we're getting a lot of reflection. And, you know, and you know, I can tilt my head down and I can be the scholarly school teacher, but these are actually not my everyday glasses because my everyday glasses have metal frames. Say, wouldn't that be fun? And they have a coating on them that is pretty standard anymore for glasses because people are using computers so much. It's to help your eyes. So I ordered these glasses. I just barely need them, just barely. I mean, I'd be squinty faced if I didn't, but I just barely need them. And I didn't order them with the cover and, you know, or the coating, but I'm lost. I mean, you know, I keep getting and if I do it right, I can like put the little circles right on my eyes. You know, and so it's just, to me, it's distracting. Other people have said that it doesn't bother them. It distracts me.
Yeah. And it's a very common problem. Obviously, there are a lot of people that wear glasses. One of the things, I mean, as I mentioned about the key and the fill, they are on a 45-degree angle and they are a soft light. I use soft boxes. Again, it's like the name sounds. It's a soft light. And they have built-in diffusers. And the idea is to softly envelop rather than have a harsh light that is going to have reflection issues. So I would definitely recommend that for people who have glasses. And sometimes it's also about working on your angle because if you can see the light reflecting in the glasses, it is like obviously distracting.
See right there.
But the soft boxes do definitely help with that because they are a softer light and they're much larger as well. So you might get it sort of a little bit of a light reflection rather than a light. So right now we can actually see the rings.
See right there. I can put that ring right there.
Yeah, it's a good look. It's a good look.
I know.
And you're right. Some people might say they don't notice or it doesn't bother them. But at the end of the day, all of these things are very real factors. Maybe they're subconscious, you know,
Right.
people may not even realize,
Mhm.
but they all do detract from
Mhm.
a professional image.
Mhm.
And it just says they're not quite familiar with, you know, how
Right.
to look at the camera.
Mhm.
And it's not that it's, you know, the be all and end all. Of course, your content and your words and all of these things, and obviously how you deliver all of this stuff, which is also what I teach,
Mhm.
is a massive, massive part of it.
Mhm.
But looking good on camera, looking professional on
Mhm.
camera is part of that initial like and trust factor.
Right.
And if you can't build that, if you can't give people that, particularly in those first few moments
Mhm.
where we all know, you know, first impressions matter,
Right.
um, you're doing yourself a disservice.
Mhm.
And then if you are one of these kinds of people who do notice and find it
Mhm.
distracting, even people who don't actually, they're going to psychologically, they're
Right.
going to be distracted. But at the end of the day, if it's distracting people, it is detracting from you and
Right.
from what you're trying to say.
Right.
And
Because
you
then they
don't
start
need,
focusing on it.
that's right. And you
Mhm.
don't need any extra distractions.
Mhm.
You want to do everything in your power to make sure that
Mhm.
you are reaching your audience and that
Mhm.
they are hearing what you're
Right.
trying to tell them.
Right.
Whether it's just, you know, it's a motivational speaker, whether
Mhm.
it's education, whether you're pitching to the board, whether you are, I don't know, trying to get some
Mhm.
investments and you've got to, you know, sell your product
Mhm.
and hope that these people actually are inspired
Mhm.
by your vision and give you money, you know, whatever it is, or even just, you know, a regular board meeting where
Right.
you're asked to, you know, present something weekly, whatever it
Mhm.
might be. Anything that you need to do where you are presenting public speaking in person or
Mhm.
on camera, you need to be able to do it well. And
Right.
anything that is not helping you is hindering you. So
Mhm.
you just, these things just help you know a little bit more about the things that people are going to be getting distracted by
Mhm.
or are going to be detracting from your professional outlook and
Right.
therefore whether they're going to trust you and have
Mhm.
confidence in
Right.
you and
Mhm.
whatever your message is.
Mhm. Right. So I'll work on my lighting, and it
Oh,
really is an ongoing thing. And a big part of it are the big monitors that I have here. And it's
mm,
funny because I obviously have to have one on or I, couldn't see it all. But, so I've tried turning one off. And I don't know. It's just, it's a work in progress
yeah,
and it's fun to tinker with, but yeah. So, okay. So we're going to
mm,
assume I've got my lighting down. So what's
mm.
a next mistake that people do?
Okay. Actually, you know what? Just before I say that, I will just add one other
Mhm.
reason for the lighting because I'm just looking at your lighting now.
Mhm.
Um,
See,
the
now
other
you're
problem,
focusing on it.
now I'm focusing, that's right. Um, but you are too dark at the
Okay.
moment.
Okay.
Now, right now, I am very light,
Mhm.
and some people might find this too bright. But
Mhm.
this is more
But there's a definite
city light.
difference between the two of us.
There is,
Mhm.
that's right. And at the moment, I mean, other than the background,
Mhm.
which obviously you know I have a backdrop.
Mhm.
Other than that, um, the only difference between the two images
Mhm.
is the lighting.
Right.
And it makes there, I mean, if you have a look at a TV studio
Mhm.
or, you know, any presentation on TV or whatever, you will notice instantly
Mhm.
everything is very, very well lit.
Right.
Everything
Oh yeah. And
always,
you bake because it's so
yeah,
well lit.
exactly right.
Mhm.
Soft boxes thankfully are not
Mhm.
hot, so that's
Mhm.
fine. But generally speaking, you want to make sure everything is very well lit, and it's
Okay.
become associated, um, I mean, apart from the practical things like we
Mhm.
can actually see you,
Mhm.
um, it's become associated with that's a professional and polished look,
Mhm. Right.
and
Right.
it's just that simple.
Right.
It really is. And
Well,
3-point lighting is just a basic
mhm.
standard
Mhm.
in the industry. It's,
Right.
you know, it's there for a
You know,
reason.
and I wonder if if in trying to not have the reflection and all of that, I've dimmed things. So clearly I
Mm,
dimmed them too much.
yeah.
So,
And
but
one
yeah,
side is a
and it
lot
is
darker
nighttime here, so it's dark outside and
than
but yeah, it's okay. I'll work on it. I promise. I
the
promise.
other. Okay. Well, I'm in a blacked out room as well.
Right.
My studio here is blacked out.
Hmm.
I have natural lighting over there. But
Hmm.
you know what? That's another thing. If people want to go onto my website and grab that free guide about
Hmm.
5 mistakes
Hmm.
people make on camera, this has a bit more, it has a bit more information than what I'm talking about now. But one of the things you can obviously utilize is your natural light.
Right.
But you've got to pay attention to where it is. You don't want a silhouette. You don't want to cause problems. You don't want reflection. But anyway, we'll move on to mistake number 2 because we'll run out of time otherwise.
That's all right. We'll keep going however long we need to.
Yeah, we'll just go all day, all night for you.
Yeah. It'll get darker and darker.
Yeah, but ring lights in general, they're not, they're too harsh in terms of reflection, and they're not good enough in terms of lighting a set. So I actually really don't recommend ring lights. They're kind of one of the things that everyone is, talking about right now. It's, the latest thing.
But that's where you get these funny, especially, I mean, the square there is my monitors, but then there's the rings.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But you know what? If you can do without glasses, then just do without them.
Oh, yeah. I have no makeup on, so I have to leave my glasses on for now. But yeah, I mean, that is the thing, is so many people, you can change, say, the size of whatever it is on your monitor if you're needing to be reading something. I mean, you can increase that. So there are ways that you can do things to maybe not have to wear glasses.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, well, honestly, I wear contacts. So yeah. My
problem is I've got, these are what you would have called a trifocal, but because they take it, they have taken heart of us poor people who need trifocals and made us feel old, and they call them progressives. And so, the bottom part is for reading close up, then the middle part is for my monitors, and then further up is for distance. But yeah, I mean, so that's, aging. Oy.
Yeah, what can you do?
We want to keep doing it, so that's okay.
Yeah, well, that's true too. Yes. But I mean, general public, if you can do without your glasses for presenting and you don't need to be reading something, then just take them off, save yourself a little headache. But yes, all of those things that I mentioned definitely are things that you can do as well.
Okay.
To help.
Cool.
Okay. So mistake 2? Okay. Mistake 2 is your voice inflections. Now, this is one of those things that people have no idea if they're doing it wrong, but everyone else, even again, just subconsciously, are going to be picking up on it, and it's going to be doing you a massive, massive, massive disservice. Speaking of TV, well, I mentioned it before. If you have a quick look at some kind of reality TV, you're going to discover very, very quickly there are a lot of people who put incorrect inflections scattered throughout their general conversation. The most common being putting a question mark at the end of their sentence.
Really?
When it's not a question. Yes. The general premise is you don't want to be putting your inflection up at the end of a sentence, and you don't want to be putting it down at the end of a sentence, and you don't want to be just giving no inflection at all and speaking monotone. But it's about being aware of these things. So if you put an inflection up at the end of a sentence, it sounds like a question. You hear? Voice just went up a little bit.
Right. And women tend to do it more.
Oh, they do it all the time. And I hear it, like I said, on the reality TV. I'm like, why is every sentence a question? Just, sometimes it's to do with nerves, and this is another reason why it is so important when you're presenting professionally, because if that's the impression that you're giving people, what you are telling them is, I'm not confident.
I'm uncertain.
What I'm doing here. You shouldn't be listening to me.
Should you buy my product?
That's right. Oh, everything goes up. Everything. It's just, Anyway, so obviously you need to start being aware of where you put these inflections and if you are using them incorrectly. But also on the flip side, you can start to use them intentionally. Do it on purpose. So inflection up at the end of a sentence makes it sound like a question. Inflection down at the end of the sentence makes it sound like a command.
So you have to watch those.
You want to intimidate your audience, you want to scare them, then please do that. And this one is more common to men. They are telling you and you better listen.
Mm-hmm.
But the trouble with that, of course, is it's intimidating, and it
Mm-hmm.
instantly makes you feel defensive and
Mm-hmm.
like, well, no, I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
no, I don't
Right.
want to
Mm-hmm.
listen to you.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's not actually what your intent is, and it's just coming out maybe again because of
Mm-hmm.
nerves or it's your natural default,
Mm-hmm.
then you're doing yourself a disservice.
Right. And we do, if we're talking to someone and trying to convince them of something, we do want them to take that action, but we don't want them to feel like they were forced to.
Exactly. That is not what you're wanting to do. That is not the goal. So you've got to be aware of that one as well.
Mm-hmm.
But you can use it at times when there is perhaps an element or you want to put some weight onto something in particular.
Mm-hmm.
But generally speaking, you want to minimize those things.
Mm-hmm.
If you speak it straight, as in no inflection up, no inflection down, then it is just a statement.
Mm-hmm.
And you can really, really use this one to your advantage. Because if you are purposefully making a statement of fact, then you can tell your audience, this is just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. You don't get to argue the point. It's not up for debate. This is just a fact. And if you are telling people perhaps maybe about a product or a service and you're explaining the benefits, then you want to make sure that they are getting that as a fact and definitely not as a possible maybe question.
Right.
Right?
Will
Because
this
if you're
solve your
presenting
problem?
it as a question, exactly. And if you present it as a question, are they going to believe it? Are they going to want to buy your service? Are they going to trust that this is going to be the solution to their problem? Probably not. Right? So if you can deliver it as a statement of fact and not in a harsh way, you are not commanding, you are not being intimidating, but you are just, it's a statement, right? You're putting it out there. This is the way it is. And then you can work with all of these things together. You can avoid using them incorrectly. You can purposefully use them when you want to, and you can avoid subconsciously driving your audience away or giving them the wrong message.
I love it. And it is hard. And I think many people need to do something like what we're doing here, just recording what they're doing. And I'm going to suggest that they do that for all of this, because they need to see, what is the lighting, what is the inflection, all of those various things. And folks, get over the fact that you might not like how you look and or sound, because right, the first couple of times you record your voicemail, you're like, oh my God, I sound like that. But it does take practice, but you need to see what other people are seeing and hearing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And you're not watching it to be really overly critical of yourself.
Because you don't want to freak yourself out so bad you're not going to do it again.
That's right, exactly. It's about learning the tools. It's about learning the tricks of the trade and just being aware so that you can do it better. And that obviously is the entire point of my training. You just want to be aware of things and utilize a skill set that you wouldn't necessarily have had any access to in any other way or in any other time.
Right.
So it's just bringing all of these things together. I mean, if you think about an actor on stage or on camera, if you think about the things that they are taught and the things that they are required to do, or a director, when they're blocking out a scene and, this needs to go there and that person needs to be here and they need to move from point A to point B at this time. Why? Why do they do that? It is all intentional.
Right.
There is psychology behind it and there are obviously hundreds and hundreds of years of history where this has been put into practice and has been proven. So these are not, airy-fairy ideas. I'm not trying to turn people into actors. I'm not trying to make people be someone that they're not. That's definitely not what we're doing, and that's a common misconception. Right. We're not trying to make you into someone else. We're not trying to give you a persona for being on stage or on camera. Authentic you is not only more than enough, but it's also what your audience needs to see and hear and relate to.
Right.
This is about the skill set to help you do it well.
And we want you to be comfortable doing it because, as I said at the start, you're going to have to be doing this,
Mm.
even if it's just one-on-one meetings or presenting. I mean, I did a webinar last week, and
Yeah, exactly.
we had
Webinars.
people from around or across the country, and
Mm.
it was so much fun because we started out with kind of the whole Brady Bunch thing, right, with everybody on, and then we turned them all off because that's
Yep.
really distracting, and that's one of those things. Don't be having the Brady Bunch thing going on.
Mhm.
You only need the people that are supposed to be on camera to be on camera. But the cool thing was, if I had done the presentation in person, we might have had a handful of people attend. By doing it as a webinar, we did have people from all over everywhere that were participating. And so that is one of the big benefits to being able to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, where are you? Georgia or something?
I'm in
Atlanta?
Georgia. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I'm in Melbourne, Australia.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We're
obviously
a couple hundred miles apart, or maybe a couple thousand.
that's right. It's not really the sort of thing we could be doing if it
Right.
wasn't for
Mhm.
being on
Yeah.
camera.
I mean, just expense alone. I mean,
Oh,
we saved several $1,000s in airfare. All of those various things, and that's what companies are doing. Is they
yeah.
are seeing how much money they can save. We are
Mm,
spreading people out. We've got people who, we've talked on other programs that I've done with people where we're allowing people to have a lot of flexible schedules, to work from home, to do all of these things. And you
yeah.
still need to communicate with them. Email
Yeah.
isn't enough, text isn't enough. You need to
Yeah.
have some face-to-face communications. And this is just the true wave of the future.
It is. And you know what? You mentioned email, and that just made me
Mhm.
suddenly think there was a period of time there where people were a little bit unsure about email etiquette.
Mhm.
When it started becoming the norm to be used for
Right.
business
Mhm.
rather than just personal
Mhm.
emails or whatever. And then when texting came in, it was the same thing. Well,
Mhm.
what's the etiquette here?
Right.
Because we do need to
Mhm.
differentiate between, personal
Mhm.
and really casual, laid back. It really
Mhm.
doesn't matter if I've actually gotten that completely
Mhm.
grammatically correct. Versus I'm pitching a job
Mhm.
opportunity to somebody and I
Right.
need to be professional.
Mhm.
Um, so it's the same thing with being on camera.
Mhm.
And I find that this is the current misconception. And you see it a lot in places like Facebook
Mhm.
and all the Facebook lives, and people
Mhm.
have Facebook groups and all of that sort of thing. And everyone's talking about being authentic. People want to see the authentic you.
Mhm.
Well, yes, they do. But that doesn't need to involve seeing your dirty socks on your bedroom floor.
Right. Mhm.
Okay?
The
This is still
cat doesn't need to
supposed to be
wander across.
professional.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
Yeah. And I think it's the same question again.
Mhm.
It's about etiquette.
Mhm.
What is appropriate and what isn't?
Right.
Because you can still be friendly and,
Mhm.
very relatable and
Right.
authentic when you send an email or a
Mhm.
text in a work capacity,
Mhm.
but there is an expectation that it will be grammatically
Mhm.
correct. It
Right.
will have paragraphs.
Mhm.
It will have capitalization,
Mhm.
and it won't be like, hey, you. It
Mhm.
will be, dear sir or madam.
Right.
You've got
Right.
to be
Mhm.
appropriate for the
Mhm.
situation.
Mhm. Right.
And that is what all of this is about.
Mhm.
You need to be appropriate for the
Mhm.
situation. So if you're going to be on camera, which obviously, very important, and yes, everybody can do it. It's not,
Mhm.
only for a few, but maybe consider etiquette.
Right.
Maybe consider, are
Mhm.
you being professional when
Mhm.
you are on camera? Are
Mhm.
you presenting a professional image
Mhm.
to these people? Of course, be authentic, be
Mhm.
yourself. You don't need to be afraid of that. You don't need to put
Mhm.
on a persona. But we probably don't need to see you filming in your bedroom.
Mhm. Right.
That's just not a work
Mhm.
appropriate place to film.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
just, yeah.
Right.
And actually that is leading on to the next
Cool.
mistake. Not that I
Mhm.
planned that, but that worked out.
That's a great
Ah,
segue. You did. You
ah.
planned it. We know.
I just know my content so well. I could,
Mhm.
talk all day, every day. It all goes back to
Mhm.
original points. It all
Right.
ties in.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, but the third mistake is your background
Mhm.
on camera. Now, obviously that matters, on stage too, but we're
Mhm.
talking about on camera.
Right.
So on camera background, you have an incredible control over what the audience
Mhm.
sees or doesn't see.
Mhm.
Now, I'm not going to span my camera, but
Mhm.
you would be shocked if you could see to the left of me, to
Right.
the right,
Mhm. Mhm.
because I'm in a busy office space.
Mhm.
I have a thing of drawers right next to me, like right there. I have an armchair right here. And I have, the usual chaos, books and shelves and desks and, whatever else. But you guys don't see that.
Right.
And why? Because as the director of this show, which I am because I placed my camera, I am controlling what the audience sees. The audience sees what I allow the camera to see. So all of the things outside of that are beside the point. And what I've created here is a little bit of a set. Now, sometimes I have an actual set, which is something that people can do. You can have a little table, maybe a little, I don't know, thing of flowers or, something appropriate to your brand, whatever it might be. Or you can use a backdrop, like I have.
So is that a true backdrop or is it a green screen?
This is a backdrop.
Okay.
You can also use green screens, obviously. The trouble with green screens is it requires post-ed.
Right.
So,
and you get a little glowy and all of those funny things.
Yes. And there is a bit of a finesse to the editing to make sure you are actually getting all of the edges and not having a little glimmer of green.
Yeah, your shoulder goes away for some reason or.
I know. Or, if people move around a lot, you see, it's very obvious.
There's a lag.
Like, whoa, their arm is gone.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm filming something for maybe an advertisement or, I don't know, something I'm going to reuse time and again, then yes, sometimes I'll use a green screen. Or if I need to, to have, text up on the screen and I want to point it out or, have the logo up or, contact information or something like that. But for this is just a backdrop. And this is what I use because, as I said, I all the time and dealing with clients online. I do training and consulting online. So I do it in person as well. But so
you're in Australia. Lots of people are elsewhere.
Exactly. Yeah. And Australia is a very, very big place. It's not, I can't just.
A lot of space in between stuff too.
Weeks of driving. No, we'll go on camera. So the backdrop is super simple because you can put it up, you can put it, you can pull it up, you can pull it down, you can slide them across, whatever kind it is. And in a moment you have a set and it's done. Right. And it's very handy for blocking out mess behind you. Right. So for example, going back to the bedroom example, if I was filming in my bedroom because that was the place that was quiet, if I'm,
you might have limited space
with a business, whatever the space is, whatever it is that you find that works for you. For sound and lighting, maybe it's the best natural light and you want to utilize some of that. You've only got a fill rather than a key, all of those things. Whatever it is, you can still use a backdrop. Now, you don't need to have a professional printed one like I do. Right. You can just put
curtains.
Up something. Yep. Even if, it's a blank wall, it's still better. If it's better if it's not white, just FYI, white.
Right, because then that messes with the light.
It does, yes. But it's also quite harsh and cold. And in a professional capacity, you want to be professional, but you also want to be inviting and engaging and warm. So white is usually a little too cold for that.
Right.
But if you have beige walls or something, sure, use a wall. Or put up, a sheet. Preferably one that's been ironed.
Right. No holes in it. No, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
and a plain one, folks, not stripes, not,
Yeah. So maybe a nice neutral color, like a light gray is usually what I advise people if they're actually planning ahead and thinking about this. It's a good color because it's not going to clash with things. It's going to absorb a little bit of the light. You're not going to have bounce reflection from the light. And it's pretty flattering in terms of it's going to suit most people. Right. And it's not going to clash with whatever clothes you wear. But that's another thing, just be mindful of the clothes you're wearing. Just, not something bright red, you're going to glow like a tomato under the lights. Not something really crazy patterns. It's not going to be good under the camera. So just have a think about your background. We don't want to see your dirty socks on the floor. We want a professional image. We want to see that you care enough to take a moment to make sure that you are presenting professionally when you are on the camera.
And I have a busy background. We'll just be honest about that. And I've tinkered with it again. I've done, all sorts of things. And to me, what's back there reflects me.
Mm.
But yeah, see, it may also be that it's just too busy. And it's funny, I had a guest on who we were talking about how to get people to pay attention to you. And it
Mm.
was to remove the things that are busy. And he had a black background. I mean, and so he was kind of this talking head. It was, to me, it was too dramatic, but I could tell that he looked at what's behind me and he was going, but I know it shouldn't be as busy. Yeah. So I'll work on that and I'll work on my lights. But,
Yeah.
but it is, it's something to be thinking about. Now, if you're just doing a one-on-one meeting,
Mm.
that's very different than, and it depends on who you're talking to.
Yeah.
If it's a potential client that you're going to maybe eventually charge lots of money, you really need to pay attention what's back there. But yeah, and is it a reflection of who you are? Sure. But are people going, what's that up there? And, oh, what's she got over there? I mean, that's, again, it's like the reflection in the glasses. Are they
Yeah.
getting lost in that as opposed to paying attention to what I'm saying?
Yeah. And quite honestly, it is too busy.
Mhm.
There are too many things.
Yep.
Not only is it busy, but like I can't actually read what some of those things are.
Yeah. So then you focus on that. You're like, what's it say?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, not that I am, but if I was an audience member who was perhaps a little bit bored, maybe
That's true. True. Then you're
out
really
a
going to be looking at it. Mm-hmm.
then I'm really going to be looking at it and I'm going to be going, oh, what's that say?
Right.
A little stuffed dog. Oh,
Mhm.
that's cute.
Yeah.
Wonder why that's
Yeah.
in
Why
there.
does she have that? And then you get lost. Or maybe she has it on Facebook and away you go.
Yeah. And what does that actually
Mhm.
say behind her? Her head is blocking part of it.
Right. Yeah.
What is that above
Yeah.
her head?
Mhm.
Oh, it's a painting, a picture, a photo. Oh, yeah.
Right.
And the same thing actually for your mic. I will point
Mhm.
that out because
Mhm.
this is another really common thing I
Mhm.
see. Your mic does not need to be in your shot. And I
Right.
see people do
Yeah.
that
It
a
could
lot.
be a little bit further away.
Yes. And oh,
Mhm.
instantly how much better. I
Mhm.
mean, there's a lot of stuff
And it's
behind
a
you.
big mic. Let's be honest. Mhm.
It is. And reality is in the image that I'm seeing, remembering
Mhm.
again, I'm the director.
Mhm.
Oh, well, in your case, you're the director.
Mhm.
In
You're
the
my
camera,
producer.
yes. But what you're seeing,
Mhm.
what I'm seeing is that the microphone is about the same size as your head.
It is. Mhm.
Now, the trouble with that, of course, is, and again, this is all in my training, but
Mhm.
instantly, psychologically, you have just minimized your importance
Oh.
to your audience. And if
Mm.
I was a director of that,
Mhm.
I would be fired.
Mm.
That is a
Mhm.
definite no-no.
Right.
Unless it was a prop that had a massive significance
Mhm.
and was equal in its importance to
Mhm.
you, it should not be anywhere near that
Right.
large. It
Right.
needs to
And
be minimized.
it's one of those things where it is it a prop, because this is a podcast, and so you've got the microphone. I mean, and so yeah, it's like, so I'll have to try. I'm not going to do it now because I don't want to lose myself. But yeah, having it further out of and actually there's an easy way to do it. It's called bring the camera in closer and the mic
Yeah,
out.
well,
I mean,
that's it.
that's, yeah, not
Yeah,
that I really
very
want
easy.
people to see a little bit more of me, but yeah, again, it's a matter of just tweaking things until you get it
Mm,
to work. Because
yeah,
yeah, when I start getting people asking me questions about the mic, it's like, okay, they did get distracted by it.
exactly. And if that's not part of your focus,
Mhm.
like if you were talking about mics, if
Right.
you were doing an
Mhm.
episode on mics,
Right.
then sure,
Yeah,
have
I
it
would say this is a mhm. Mhm.
exactly. But if it's not helping you, it
Mhm.
is detracting.
Right.
And this is what I say to people all the time, distraction and detraction.
Mhm.
Stop making life harder for yourself.
Mhm.
Help your audience hear you.
Right.
Help them see you. Help them
Mhm.
understand you. And if you are doing these things because you are fearful, like you
Mhm.
just said,
Mhm.
I caught that. I don't want people to see more of me.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah,
bring the camera
and
in close.
lines, mhm.
But what is happening is that there's so many things going on around you
Mhm.
that you're minimizing your significance
Mhm.
and making it harder for people to focus on
Yeah.
what you're saying. If
Okay.
you're going to go to all the effort of going on camera and
Mhm.
trying to deliver something to an audience,
Mhm.
then you should do it so that they're going to be able to hear you,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
That's the point of it. That's why you're there.
Mm-hmm.
You may as well do it so they
Mm-hmm.
can hear
Right.
you.
Well, and when you think about movies, television, things like that, when you're looking at the background, just look at, take your favorite TV show, folks, and look at that and realize there's not nearly as much back there as you would normally see. There's
Yes.
enough to set the scene, but
Mm-hmm.
all the clutter, all of the normal stuff
That's right.
is not there. What is there is what needs to be there.
Exactly. And if you have a look even at, interviews for
Mm-hmm.
people, actors or whatever,
Right.
they're promoting a movie.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a look at the set that they
Mm-hmm.
have there,
Oh, it's as
you'll have
bare bones as can be. Mm-hmm.
it is. You might have a poster or something of
Mm-hmm.
the movie.
Mm-hmm.
You might have a little tiny table and you'll
Mm-hmm.
have some chairs.
Right.
And the interviewer will be on a 45-degree
Mm-hmm.
angle usually, unless they're doing a wide shot and they're
Mm-hmm.
sort of, doing the crosstalk.
Mm-hmm.
But generally speaking, everything is done in a particular way for a particular reason. And that's what my training actually shows people.
Right.
So they understand not only why,
Mm-hmm.
but then how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, if you are utilizing this skill set and the tips and the tricks
Mm-hmm.
from the trade,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to be doing it better. And
Right.
at the end of the day, yes, you'll stand out from your
Mm-hmm.
competitors, but the most important thing is your audience. You
Mm-hmm.
want to make sure that you're making it as easy as you can for
Right.
them to hear you.
Mm-hmm. Right. I always think about, when we're talking about backgrounds,
Mm.
sports interviews,
Yeah.
like ESPN when they do game day. So you've got, usually the 3 or 4 talking heads
Mhm.
and then 1,000 students behind that are trying to get on camera to show mom, yes, I'm here. And
Yeah.
they've got signs, they've got all sorts of things. And pretty soon I have no idea what the talking heads are saying because I'm trying to see what's going on in the
Exactly.
background.
Exactly.
And that and you want, I always wonder, do they not know how distracting it is, or
Mm.
do they know how distracting it is and so they don't have to pay attention to as much to what they say?
Well, there may be an element of that, yes.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Some of the things they say are a little bit nonsensical.
Right.
But
Especially on sports stuff. But like Good Morning America does, some of the news programs do that. They'll have the live audience back there.
Yeah.
And you're watching the person go by in their red coat and then the person goes by with the baby and and it's like, oh, okay.
Yep. But this is also where knowing who your audience is so
Mhm.
important,
Right.
because yes, it is distracting.
Mm-hmm.
So you're absolutely right about that. But they are actually using this for a reason. It is on purpose. It's
Right.
not that they don't know that it's distracting. It's that they have, the director has purposefully done that because what they are trying to show you is this is for the people.
Right.
This is for the common people.
Mhm.
We're there with you. This is really
Look how
casual and laid back.
fun. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fun, relaxed. We're all here
Mhm.
together. Everyone can get involved. Everyone is,
Mhm.
a part of this.
Mhm.
And it's a psychological thing, but
Mhm.
it is just simply a directing skill.
Mhm.
And again, it's one of the things in the training, and it's there to help you understand those
Mhm.
sorts of things and how to utilize things and when.
Right.
Because if your audience is, maybe a panel of CEOs,
Mhm.
and maybe you want to minimize those distractions.
Mhm.
Maybe
Oh,
that is the
definitely.
wrong message to be sending.
Mhm.
Maybe you don't want to be sitting there wearing casual clothes, and
Mhm.
maybe you don't want to have the socks on your bedroom floor.
Mhm.
Whatever it is that you are doing, you need to think about who your
Mhm.
audience is.
Right.
Now, maybe if you are a mum and you're selling, I don't know, kids' products,
Right.
it might
Then
be
it's
very
okay to have the
appropriate.
toy in the background. Mhm.
That's exactly
Mhm.
right. And it's all part of your messaging.
Right. Mhm.
All of this is part of your
Mhm.
branding, and that's something that people tend to forget.
Mhm.
They think they're being authentic and
Mhm.
real by letting people see them mess or
Mhm.
see them without makeup or see them
Right.
film in the driver's seat of their car. One of
Mhm.
my pet peeves.
I know.
Why?
Because
Why?
all I'm doing is thinking they're going to crash. We're going to watch them crash.
Yeah, and if they're parked somewhere or something, even, it's just like, well, why are you in your car? Like, are
Mhm.
you going somewhere? Are you
Right.
coming?
Mhm.
And what shop is that behind you? Oh,
Yeah.
they have a sale on. I can
Right.
see.
Right.
Oh.
Carpool karaoke, that's okay, but otherwise, no.
Exactly. I mean, unless it is part of your branding, like you're selling cars,
Right.
just don't film in your car.
Mm-hmm.
Does my head in. But anyway. Oh dear. Mistakes. Should we keep going with the mistakes?
Yes. Oh, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. Mm-hmm.
All right. So what are we up to? 4.
4. Mm-hmm.
Yes. 4 what were these 4? Your emotions.
Mm.
Letting your emotions control you
Mm-hmm.
and the situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's such an obvious thing, really. But at the end of the day, your emotions need to be kept in check
Mm-hmm.
if they are distracting or detracting
Mm-hmm.
your audience.
Right.
So if you are incredibly nervous, for example,
Mm-hmm.
let's say you hate being on camera,
Mm-hmm.
hate how you sound, how you look, whatever it is, and maybe it's not something you're very familiar with or whatever. If you let that be seen, what message are you sending your audience?
Right.
And at the end of the day, was it therefore a good and helpful thing that
Mm-hmm.
you conquered your fears and got on
Mm-hmm.
camera? Or was it doing you a disservice?
Mm-hmm.
Because your audience saw a flustered, not well
Mm-hmm.
put together, messy kind of content,
Right.
distracted, whatever you presented
Mm-hmm.
on camera.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're feeling nervous, if you're feeling worried, if you don't know what you're talking about, all of those things, that's going to come across.
Mm-hmm.
And there are, again, tips and tricks to overcome all of these things, obviously all in my training. But then there are also some really obvious things you can do yourself without any training, and that is just to be aware of it.
Right.
Right? Because it's not about you. And that's actually the 5th mistake, the wrong focus. It's not about you.
Right.
It's about your audience.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I've kind of said this 10 times already, but at the end of the day, if you don't understand that the reason that you are getting on camera or you're presenting on stage or you're pitching to the board or whatever it is not about you, but it's about your message and about your audience. And it's about how your message can help your audience. So if you are looking at it as this is helpful for them and I'm doing this for them, for their benefit, and then you are expressing it in a way that is showing that to your audience, not only are they going to relate to you, not only are they going to trust you and like you, feel like you're being authentic, all of those good things, but they're actually going to receive that message.
Right.
And at the end of the day, that is the point. And it is so easy to get lost in the details and lost in nerves and lost in our content. But at the end of the day, the words are only a tiny part of your content. So just, don't get so hung up on your words. Like I don't have any script in front of me now, for example. As I said earlier, I know my content really well. And that's really what you need to do. You just need to know your content, and then you need to be confident in how you are presenting yourself and your content. And you can strategically plan how to do both of those things. You can, once you know what you're doing, you can utilize all of those skills and you can plan ahead. You can decide at this point in this bit of content on this subject, I'm going to do this. I'm going to step from here to here. I'm going to turn my head that way. I'm going to do this with my voice. I'm going to pick up this prop. I'm going to deliver that line in that particular way. And then I'm going to pause. And then I'm going, all of those things, like it sounds like a lot right now, but all of those things are utilized. When you have the skill set, you can utilize all of these things and make them all work for you, but for your audience. And if you're looking at it as being about you and, oh my gosh, they're looking at me, the camera's on me, the lights are on me, I have to talk into this microphone, all of those things, it's making the focus about you. It's going to make you more nervous. It's going to make you not be able to think straight, not be able to present well. And at the end of the day, you're not going to be reaching your audience because they are going to feel that, they're going to see that. All of that stuff is going to be portrayed in your body language, in your movements, in your voice, in your inflection, in everything that you are doing and presenting. And the aim of the training obviously is to bring all of those things together and make them work in your benefit, to your benefit.
Right. And one of the things is, a lot of what you are concerned about is, as you're giving, your meeting, your presentation, your whatever, we get in our heads and we
Yeah.
think, oh, they must be watching my glasses. They must be looking at the background. They must be doing that. They must hear my voice. The worst thing is to point that out,
Yeah.
and don't say, oh my gosh, I know that my glasses are very distracting, because
Mm-hmm.
then people are going to focus on them, and they might not have even noticed. So
Mm.
don't say, I'm so nervous that I'm having to do this, all those various things. And don't do the silly things like, imagine that whether you're doing this on camera or live. Okay. I don't ever want my audience to be naked. No, no. I hate that. I don't
Worst
know who
advice
came
ever.
up with that. Um, or even in their underwear. That's the new
Yeah.
thing. Well,
No,
imagine them in their underwear. No, no,
no, no,
no.
thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And
Mm.
just relax and
Yeah.
practice. I mean, that really is, and it sounds silly and it sounds trite, but that's, and remember, they are participating because they want that information. Now,
Exactly.
if you're the CEO and you have told everybody you will watch, okay, that's a little bit different, but they're
Mhm.
still wanting that information from you. So
Yeah.
remember that, and I always tell people, talk like you would if you truly were face to face. And that's
Yeah.
part of why we started doing the podcast as video. I get to
Mm.
see my guests and we get to chat like we were sitting having a cup of coffee.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something that something I'm always telling my clients
Hmm.
as well. Yes, you're doing all of these things, and
Hmm.
yes, it looks, maybe large scale and
Hmm.
feels like there's a lot of effort going into it. But the entire point of all of that is so that you can be free.
Right.
You can let go
Hmm.
because you have the confidence knowing that you
Hmm.
are doing it well,
Hmm.
knowing that you know what you're doing, right?
Hmm.
And
Right.
that is incredibly liberating.
Hmm.
And then you can focus on your audience of
Hmm.
one. That's the other thing that is
Right.
so, so important.
Yeah.
Because
There
if
might
you're
be a
talking,
thousand there. Find
yeah,
one. Hmm.
yeah. And if you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody.
Hmm.
You want to make it real. You want to make
Hmm.
it personalized.
Hmm.
And if you're speaking to that audience of one,
Hmm.
people see that, they feel that.
Right.
And obviously it changes your focus as
Hmm.
well. And that's
Right.
another thing that will help with your
Hmm.
nerves too, because if you're speaking to one person
Hmm.
rather than a large crowd, your brain instantly is going, oh, that's okay, I can do
Hmm.
that.
Right.
Right? It's
Yeah.
a lot less
Hmm.
overwhelming and
Hmm.
scary.
Right. Because when you're presenting to a crowd, then you start picking up on things. That
Mm,
person's not paying attention. Ooh, I like that
yeah.
top, or whatever. And it's funny. I don't always like doing webinars where we've turned everybody off, because then
Mm,
I'm talking to no one. And
yeah.
and to me, I don't like that. And so what I do, so here's my little tip. I
Mm.
have Barbie dolls. I have little
Oh,
dolls.
really?
And and
Cool.
s- and they're actually over there asleep right now. But yeah, and so that way I still have someone that I'm
Mm,
talking to.
yeah. Yep. Well, I mean, I've never actually heard of someone using Barber dolls,
Eh.
but hats off
I'm
to you.
odd.
That's awesome, creative, inventive idea. Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm always telling people, rather than if they're nervous about the
Mhm.
camera, or they're feeling like they're just,
Mhm.
they're in presenting mode,
Mhm.
to stop looking at the lens itself
Right. Yeah. Don't
and to
stare at the
focus.
camera like this. Mhm.
Mm. And this is something else,
Mhm.
obviously actors are taught,
Mhm.
is you're not ever supposed to look directly at
Mhm.
the lens so much
Right.
as just around it.
Mhm.
And that actually also helps with your eyes,
Mhm.
what the camera is picking up.
Right.
But it also is making you a little less nervous if
Mhm.
this is an issue
Right.
for you. So you can
Well.
look sort of just around it, or
Mhm.
even, depending on how large your camera
Mhm.
is, around the camera
Mhm.
itself, and focus on
Mhm.
something just beyond the
Right.
camera. Now, for all intents and purposes, it looks like
Mhm.
you're looking in the
Right.
camera,
Mhm.
but your focus isn't on the camera. It's there,
Right.
but it's not your
Mhm.
focus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you're talking to one person and we've all been
Mm.
told, maintain eye contact. Well,
Yes.
if I stare at that person, just stare at their eyes, that's just really uncomfortable for
Yeah,
them
that's
and for me.
creepy.
And so, look like right above here, or,
Mm.
don't stare straight at their eyes.
Yeah.
And even now, if you're wanting it's just like the inflection. If you're wanting to get their attention, things like that, then, okay, don't have a stare down because that really is uncomfortable, but make that eye contact, but don't maintain it to the point of it gets awkward.
Yeah, it's the same as what you're doing when you're in person.
Right.
One of the things in my training, obviously, because it covers on stage, is I talk about the amount of eye contact to use.
Right.
And generally speaking, people agree that you want about 3 seconds. Any more than that, people start to go, oh, wait, why are they staring?
I got something in my teeth.
Why are they staring at me? Or if it's shorter than that, it's perceived as shifty and untrustworthy.
Right.
It's like they can't focus on me. Why aren't they looking at me? This is off.
Right.
There's something very unsettling about a shifty gaze. So yeah, around about 3 seconds, and any more, any less, you kind of no.
Well, and you start to feel uncomfortable too, and that's kind of the thing is if you're starting to go, okay, shift your focus.
We don't want to stare down.
Right. Well, oh my gosh, Amanda, this is so much fun. And I feel like we really did just scratch the surface on this because I think these are skills that, as we were saying, more and more business people are absolutely going to have to do. And I mean, we didn't talk really about, aside from the microphone's too big, we didn't really talk about equipment. We didn't talk about a lot of things like that. And so we definitely have to have you on again. Plus, you do give training for people on how to be on stage, and it's not, yes, that could be for 10,000 people, but it also could be presenting to your team at work. I mean, that's a stage also. So, we definitely have to have you on again.
Yeah, sure.
Well,
love it.
Between now and then, tell people how they find you and how they would work with you.
Okay. Well, it's kind of obvious. Rewardsdrama.com.
See, that's that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's right there. And everything else is the same in terms of social media and things. Rewards Drama is the handle.
Right.
LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn, but it's under my name because no one uses companies on LinkedIn.
I know, they get cranky when you do that.
Rewards Drama is there, but it's kind of pointless. So everything's on my name. But yeah, you can shoot me an email, admin@rewardsdrama.com, or just go to the website, contact page, that sort of thing. It's got all our services that we offer, both online and in person. And it's got a couple of free guides. One that we talked about, the mistakes on camera, and then there's also another one, mistakes people make when they're presenting in person on stage.
I love it. And you've got a lot of great resources, and it's things that people really should be checking out because we're all going to be doing this, and the goal is to make it as comfortable as possible, and so that the audience is comfortable, they're getting what they want, and we're not just total nervous wrecks being on the other side.
Yeah, exactly. It's supposed to work both ways. Right. It's supposed to be good for everybody involved. Right. One of the things I do, as well as the training itself, which is called persuasive presenting, by the way, I never actually mentioned that. That's my signature training, persuasive presenting on stage and on camera, which I provide online and in person. And I do one-on-one.
You don't have to go to Australia?
Yeah. Well, you can. It's a nice place to visit. But in addition to the training, I also do consulting, and I'm doing that more and more as people, particularly people like authors or people who maybe have done plenty of presenting before. They have to suddenly come up with something new or do something in a different capacity or whatever, and they just want a pro in their corner to help them nut out this particular project. Or people who've done training with me before and then they want to come and do that. So I also do that as well, which is, as I said, becoming quite popular lately.
I love it.
So training and consulting online, in person, one-on-one, in groups.
At rewardsdrama.com.
At rewardsdrama.com.
I love it. Well, do you have any final thoughts for everyone?
Well, I obviously have touched on this this whole interview, but that is that it is important to be seen as professional when you are on camera and on stage. One of the most important things you can do in those first few seconds is give people a good, positive impression. And if you are trying to sell them a service, if you have your own business, or if you are in a company and you're trying to represent your company well, whether you're the CEO, the manager, or just, you've got a little team and you have to present something to the team. You want to inspire your audience. You want to get your team on board. You want to get them on board with your vision, whatever it is, or pitch your idea, sell to the board. Any of these things is so incredibly important, and you want to make sure that you're doing it well. So I would just encourage people, if this is something that you haven't maybe thought of before, whether you do training with me or not, just maybe have a little bit of a think about it and these mistakes that I've run through, and just have a think about what you could tweak when you do go on camera, even if it's just a Facebook Live. You can still be yourself and authentic and real and personable and warm and all of those things. At the same time, it's important to be seen as being professional, and make sure that you are giving your audience the confidence in you and your services and whatever that may be, and just making sure that your audience is hearing what it is that you are trying to convey to them.
Perfect. I love it. Well, I am Deb Creer. I've been having an absolutely delightful time talking with Amanda Meyer. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.